All right, gang. So I thought I would start victory games. Get my little box clipper out here. All right, so there's my box. 1983 Hell's Highway by Victory Games. We're playing the 30 core breakout scenario. This thing was in 1983. And I think I picked this game up in the somewhere probably about 85 or 86. And I think I picked it up in Europe, either Denmark or Sweden or somewhere. I must have been on leave. Or maybe it was when I went to get married and made that big mistake for the first time. But I was trying to. I never really got a chance to play it hard that I can't even remember. But the thing I remembered about this that I really liked. First off, it's a victory game, so you know it was good. Right? Almost everything they did was great. But was the rule book? Love this rule book. Now, granted, I've only played one turn, but I've read through the rules, and you can see all my blue highlighter from many years ago. It's amazing this rule book has stayed together. You can see the yellowing around the edges from aging. But most of the pages, it'll have the rules down the left column, and then on the right side, it'll have explanations, exceptions, special things about that particular rule, and they're lined up with the rule. They're right beside them, and that's freaking great. And I have yet not found anything in the game through the first turn, which usually if you're learning a game through the first turn is when you're going to be struggling the heaviest with rules. Anything that I had to look for, it was there. It wasn't like some games where they might have missed a rule or skipped over something. It was there. So far, it's there. All right, so I played the first turn, used the rulebook. Took me about an hour to do it, and it really wasn't a whole lot. And of course, I'm playing the 30 core breakout, which includes the 101's work around Eindhoven. So I did my airdrops, and you can't see it now, but I'd say 75% of the Allied 101 that got disrupted. Now, disrupted in this game has no real effect on when you take fire, but you cannot move and you cannot fire when you're disrupted. And you have two versions of it. You have attacker disruption and defender disruption. They both just mean disrupted, but because you can't move or fire, those two different versions, attacker and defender, they get removed on different phases. So, you may not be like on the first turn here, the Allies drew 6 tactical air points and 12 landing points. Well, they have 12 combat units with the 101. The supply unit doesn't count. But they got 12 combat units that you got to roll for when they drop, depending on what terrain they're in. And you can place them, there's a hex number on their counter, and then you can place them in that hex or any adjacent hex, and you got to mind stacking. So, and your die rolls will be over here on the air landing table, and you might have modifiers, and whether there's no effect or whether they get disrupted. So they're going to land in the hex that you put them in, but they might get disrupted. Okay. All right. The air strikes. They also get 6 tactical air points, which you can use to bombard or attack any German unit within 10 hexes of a 30 core. It's supposed to be a command unit, but their first command unit was coming on the map right behind everything. So anyhow, I was hitting all these right in here. And any disorder that you put on any of the German units by tactical air, on the first game turn only, when their phase comes up to remove it, they don't get to remove it. They stay disordered or disrupted. You can also use tactical air points to interdict anything up to 20 or 30 hexes. I think I have to look that one up later. But you can go up there and wherever you drop an interdiction, German units that are in travel mode cannot move through that hex. And any German units that is in one, it takes 3 additional movement points to move out of that hex. And since the units all have 6 movement points, and they either, because of what they are, they get different movement rates, but it's not real drastic. It's pretty simple. And you have 2 movement modes. You have combat mode, you have travel mode. You're not going to fight in travel mode. Now, the Brits, well, actually, I guess they both have it. They have this exciting little feature that obviously I wasn't able to use on the first turn because this freaking Fallschirmjäger stood his ground right there on the border, is if you attack and you clear that hex, any unit that is adjacent to it that's in travel mode, they can exploit it. Now, here's the trick about these mechanized units in travel mode. they can move unlimited hexes using the roads. So if this whole path was clear, so this ought to tell you where your defense is going to be for the Germans. So if that whole road is clear, they can go all the way to Eindhoven in one move. And then just keep on, as long as they don't run into any zone of controls, they can just move the full length when they're in travel mode. Okay? So keep that in mind if you can break out. So it looks to me like, as the Germans, I got to stack up on these roads to delay them as long as possible. The game is only 8 turns long. They get a butt ton of, guards from 30 Corps or armor units that come on, and mechanized or motorized infantry. Germans don't get much. They got a bunch of stacks over there that'll drift on. They got some armor over here that'll drift on. And they got a couple pieces there. All right. Another interesting thing here is your headquarters have combat support units on the headquarters counter. See if I can, let's look at this German one right here. So there's a German headquarters counter. So he's got an anti-tank. He's got anti-tank support, which during fire combat, he can assign those to units that are firing. Maybe I'll go into that one later because I didn't have to use it this turn. All right, so anyhow, 30 Corps tried to break out. I had some units already in travel mode, just in case they were ready to go, but I couldn't get that unit out of the way on the first turn. So we'll have to get after him again on the second turn. Only one turn, and like I say, I remember that I did like this game years ago when I got it. I liked the way it looked. It was simple because I had Highway to the Reich, or Operation Market Garden, but I never had a table where I could set up all 4 maps. I could only set up like 3, I think. I could never get them all on it, so I could only play scenarios. And I loved that game, and god darn if I didn't sell that thing. And I saw one the other day for $107, but I didn't grab it. But I know my buddy Osprey, he's got a couple downstairs in his basement. I'm going to end up buying one because I want to get that game back because I think I have the room where I can play it now. But this one is the smaller version. Like I said, I'm only playing in the 30 Corps Breakout, so I'm only playing a 1 mapper. And the other, there's a second map that goes up here all the way to Arnhem. Has Nijmegen and Arnhem on it. One of the most interesting combat charts I've ever seen in a game. And it took me about 15 minutes of studying and looking back and forth at the rules to understand it. So when you're firing at somebody, you go find what you're firing at by unit type. You find the terrain they're in, and then you find what formation they're in. Are they in combat mode or are they in a travel mode? And then you see what your pluses. Your left number is direct fire against them, die roll modifier, and the right number is indirect fire, die roll modifier. So yeah, armor sitting in broken terrain or in rough terrain or in the woods, it's almost impossible to even do any damage to them. Cities now, which like Eindhoven will be, there's 4 hexes in Eindhoven. The attacker gets modifiers too, along with what the defender gets. If the defender happens to be in the city next to you and you're in the city, you're doing direct fire, you're going to get a 0 modifier. And the defender is going to cause 0, so you're not going to gain anything there. And then, of course, it has the movement to get through them at each type for whatever type of unit you are. And like I say, all the units have 6 movement points. There are some that can't move in combat mode. They have to go into travel mode, like flak units, artillery units. There's, unless they're motorized or mechanized, they have to go into travel mode to move. I can't see this map unless the Germans get awful lucky stacking 30 Corp, because, this is all they got down here to stack 30 Corp with, and they're not very powerful. There's a couple of them that are. I don't know how much damage they're going to do until this unit from the 15th Army can start to come on. They get little bits and pieces here on turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, all the way up to turn 8, so we'll see. I don't really see them doing much back here. There's a 2-strength armor unit sitting in there that he's hanging on already, but he's a 2-strength. And your units have special weapons types like that. It says H on that airborne infantry there. That means he can either shoot direct fire or indirect fire. So he's carrying mortars pretty much in there. Or maybe they've got some, since they're just straight parachute, they probably don't have any mobile 105s with them. Not much strength back here for the Germans. Because like I say, they were pretty much unsuspecting of this. Supply points. 30 Corps is unlimited, so they don't have a number on their supply chart, but the other units do. And you use supply points when you do fire combat attacking. If you roll a 6, you gotta determine whether or not you gotta burn supply points. If a unit's isolated and he can't trace a line of communications to one of his supply sources, he has to burn supply points to supply that. Now, if there are 3 units that can all communicate with each other and they're isolated, that counts, is from what I understand, that counts as only like as if they were 1 unit and you only got to burn 1 point. So fire combat, you roll a 6, and isolation. Supply sources, the allies can use their supply drop, their airhead, whatever you want to call it. They can use that. If they can't, they can also use their headquarters. It's limited. It's unlimited. The trace is unlimited. Okay. The 30 Corps, any road hex, they can trace to 8 movement points. And then the road hex is a supply source, and then from the supply source to the map edge, or to that hex 0113, that's unlimited. All right. So I don't know if I'm going to see too many supply problems here, because the Germans, they can all trace them off to their tactical reserve boxes along the side. And these tactical reserve boxes are used for off-map movement. So you can move units out to the tactical, then they can move to the operational. And then from the operational, it'll tell you what other tactical boxes they can move to. So then they could jump all the way up to another one. All right. Let's see. Outside of that, no victory points are recorded till the end. There's already 3 for the Allies right there. There's 3 step losses. And the Allies also get points for 30 Corps exiting off this end of the map. But you determine all that at the end of the game. All right, guys, so that's it. That's turn 1. Took me about an hour. I'm going to play some more of this so I can keep the videos up on this one here. And like I said, I've got 2 over here behind me. I'm getting ready to set up another version of Here Come the Rebels. And I'm still working on the Vitebsk tutorial. I'm just trying to kind of take my time with the OCS stuff because I really, really, really am into it and I want to learn it well. And I'm watching videos by Gamer Hudson. He's got some good stuff up there. And I got some other people that have sent me some links or places I can look that I'm going to go look at. All right, so that's it. We'll get this one posted. Hey, don't forget, if you like this stuff, give it a thumbs up. There's my incentive right there. I love doing this stuff. And that lets me know that you guys are enjoying it too. Comments, drop them down there. Tell me if I'm missing something or if you're enjoying something or if you think something just stinks. And hey, if you want to keep up to date, subscribe and hit that bell and you'll get notified every time I do something new. All right, guys, we'll get this up. Talk to y'all later.